Since ancient times, slavery has been practiced in order for one group of people to exploit and take advantage of another group of people to build up their own society's wealth and prosperity. Though most people know that slavery as an institution ended in the United States with the 13th Amendment in 1865, many are still unaware that slavery still exists in their own city in the form of human trafficking, in which men, women, and children are used and abused through sex slavery and bonded and forced labor. According to the 2010 book, The Slave Next Door, Human Trafficking and Slavery in America Today, Professor of Contemporary Slavery at the University of Nottingham, Kevin Bales, states that 21 to 27 million people are enslaved around the world. According to a U.S. State Department study, 14,500 to 17,500 people are trafficked into the U.S. every year. So, in order to combat the spread of human trafficking in the United States, the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2017 should be signed into law because it will provide training to law enforcement and school personnel on how to identify trafficking, improve support for survivors of trafficking, and data collection and forensic investigation, as well as providing judicial training and services to survivors. According to the 2017 publication, Human Trafficking, a Reference Handbook by Dr. Alexis Aronowitz, slavery is recorded as early as 4000 BC in Mesopotamia. In the 2017 book, Modern Slavery, A Global Perspective, Siddhartha Kara observes that over the millennia, there have been multiple ways that people have entered slavery, including being conquered by another nation, being enslaved in exchange for food, shelter, and protection, as well as to pay a debt, and finally chattel slavery, in which free people were captured and sold into slavery. The primary example of chattel slavery is the transatlantic slave trade of the 18th and 19th centuries, in which countless Africans were captured, packed into ships, and transported to the United States and Britain to work on plantations. Though this type of slavery persisted through the centuries, work to abolish slavery did not begin until 1807, when the English statesman and reformer William Wilberforce passed the Slave Trade Abolition Act in Parliament and the Slavery Abolition Act in 1833. According to William Wilberforce, the abolitionist, A Monument to Perseverance by John Hersey, these acts of Parliament were the result of 45 years of toil on the part of Wilberforce, not only to prevent the slave trade from continuing, but to eradicate slavery from all of Britain. Though slavery as an institution was legally ended in Britain in 1833 and in the United States in 1865, it continues to spread today through the underground networks of human trafficking. This is why Health Matrix, Journal of Law Medicine, published a journal article in 2017 titled Human Trafficking, How a Joint Task Force, Healthcare Providers, and Law Enforcement can assist with identifying victims and prosecuting traffickers, which states that in 2000, Congress passed the first comprehensive law to protect victims of human trafficking and prosecute the perpetrators, which is known as the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000. However, this article acknowledges that the act passed in 2000 does not cover all forms of human trafficking and only addresses, quote, severe form of trafficking in persons. Thus, the law regarding human trafficking must be updated to be effective against the current expansive state of human trafficking today. Because of the hidden nature of trafficking that makes traffickers so difficult to track, the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2017, sponsored by Charles Grassley, must be signed into law in order to provide more resources, labor, to prevent the spread of human trafficking in the United States. Though the exact number of slaves in the United States is unknown, Kevin Bales states that a conservative estimate would be around 50,000 and growing. And according to a residential treatment program for victims of sex trafficking in Kansas City, known as Restoration House, approximately 1,650 children will become victims of sex trafficking every year in Kansas City. Some of the solutions to the problem of human trafficking are presented in this bill, which include investing in training of law enforcement and school personnel to identify human trafficking when they see it, as well as improving the judicial system in order to prosecute the perpetrators in a more effective way. In addition to preventing the spread of trafficking, another aim of this bill is to support survivors by making the process more centered on them and providing avenues of support and integration back into civilian life. Finally, this bill will improve data collection and forensic investigation, which are both essential to trials and convictions. Though slavery was formally ended in the United States and Britain in the 19th century, it has continued through the centuries through human trafficking. The history of slavery reveals that it has existed since the beginning of civilization, and the same concept of exploitation for financial gain has been the driving force behind the subjugation of human beings. However, if the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2017 was passed, more resources, support, and training will be provided in order to combat human trafficking and, as a result, rescue more people from the destruction of human trafficking.